Good morning, folks. Running a little bit late. I apologize for that. It's a mess in here. We're just cleaning things up. It's been a disaster the last couple of days. I'll tell you about it later. We got quite a bit of breaking news with Trump and several of his trials. The Supreme Court hearing oral arguments on the immunity case. We've got Greg Abbott just getting drugged here down in Texas over free speech. It's going to be good. Let's just dig into it. For the folks that usually join us over from the Texas Paul page on Facebook, I do apologize. That there's nothing I can do about that. That is a streaming platform. For some reason, it is not recognizing Facebook groups. They put a bulletin out about it. They're working on it. Hopefully by Sunday, it'll be fixed. Things are going just crazy in the world right now, folks, and I just absolutely love it. Let's start with something just so you can get a little schadenfreude from something, just little taste of happiness right here. This I laughed hysterically. Kudos to the guys over at Midas Touch for putting this out. They edited this video so that we didn't have to watch the whole thing, and we don't have to hear Donald Trump. But yeah, just enjoy. Oh my God. I mean, can you imagine being so weak and so fragile? Hair loss is a perfectly normal thing, folks. It really is. It's a perfectly normal thing, especially amongst men. It's caused by it usually caused by excessive testosterone. There is no sound, Jamie B. There was intentionally no sound. I didn't want to hear him. You didn't have to hear him. There was intentionally no sound. Okay. Because there's no sound necessary for this video. But yeah, hair loss is a perfectly normal thing, people. It is. It just happens, especially when you're older. You know, his daddy was bald. I mean, by the time his daddy died, he was completely bald. He just had a few little tufts of hair in the back, and that was it. This whole vanity thing that he does is amazing. It's just amazing. Look at how many inches of hair he has to grow, from the back of his head. I mean, look, he has to grow the hair from back here long enough to pull over his head, glue it in place with hairspray or whatever he sticks it to his head with, and then part it around. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, I don't get it. I just don't. And he's got a huge bald patch in the back of his head. You'd think if he was really a billionaire, I mean, he'd get a hair club for men membership or something if it really bothered him. But my God, I mean, I think actually the reason he does that is if you look at his head right there, there's liver spots and everything else on his head. He just, so much for alpha male. So much for alpha male. But I just good look at it. We're going to start out today not with Donald Trump and all of his trials. We're going to start out with Greg Abbott. This is where it started. Back in 2019, there were a lot of protests on campus about right-wing speakers. You had Ann Coulter and Little Ben and all just all these right-wing speakers that were Charlie Kirk were getting protested. In fact, you can just do a search. Let me show you. You just do a search on Google for students protest right-wing speaker 2019. There's a whole list. I mean, just a whole list of different universities and people just saying, look, Ben Shapiro here and Little Ben and just on and on and on. Well, here comes Greg Abbott, man. He's like, no, free speech is the most important thing. We can't have people stifling right-wing speech, even though they're saying, look, we don't want to hear it. Nobody supports you. You're infecting our campuses. They're trying to push this on us. We don't want it. Oh, Greg Abbott rides in and with the Texas legislature and rides a bit, says, hold my beer. Thanks for the support, Barbara. I really appreciate you. Yeah, here comes old Greg Abbott. Just proud as punch. Put this on his own social media. This is on his own social media page. Proud as punch. Riding in to save the day.
Some colleges are banning free speech on college campuses. Well, no more, because I'm about to sign a law that protects free speech on college campuses in Texas.
Okay, that's how it started. Oh, he is getting drugged because this is how it wound up. Yeah. Police cracked down on protests, the Palestinian protesters at UT. Let me tell you something. I don't agree with these folks because they're infiltrated, not with people that just support the Palestinian movement. I'm great with that. I'm on board. Yeah, sign me up for that. Supporting the Palestinian people, sending them aid, helping them establish their own government in their own country. Sign me up for that. But these protesters are infiltrated with some pretty serious radicals that they're more about attacking Israel than they are about helping the Palestinians. And it always ends up with that, Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, and it always ends up being an attack on Israel with these radicals and anarchists. Yes, good way to put it. Anarchists. They're people that block roads going to airports. They block roads, highways, stuff like that. Those people, those kind of people. And I'm okay. I am really okay when people get out of line. But when you sign a bill that says, hey, we're going to try to force the university systems to fund speakers that your students don't want to hear, and we're going to pass a law that says every common area in your university is a free speech zone. And you don't even have to be a student of the university or affiliated with the university. Every common area, as long as they don't impede the operation of the university, have at it, man. Greg Abbott there just signed it into law. Super proud. And then they started hearing things they didn't want to hear. And again, kudos to the Texas Tribune. Always great journalism over at the Texas Tribune. In late March, Governor Greg Abbott ordered public universities to revise their free speech policies and singled out some pro-Palestinian student groups, saying they should be subject to discipline. And this is exactly what I tell you about Republicans. It is a constant theme. Free speech for me, but not for thee. Prosecutions for thee, but not for me. The hypocrisy always exists always, in every situation, there is constant Republican hypocrisy. And I absolutely love that Greg Abbott. Thank you, Katie Carroll. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Brenda. I really appreciate you. You helped keep things moving here. It's constant. Yeah. I mean, you can't, don't say gay and, can't. They actually had a bill. And I'll talk about it getting in depth in another show, but there's a bill out there that the Republicans are pushing through. They didn't give up on it. They lost on the first round. They're pushing through that if students in a school, or pardon me, an administrator in a school refers to a transgender student by their preferred pronoun, they can be prosecuted as a sex offender and they will be put on the sex offender registry list. And of course, sex offenders can't be within 500 feet of schools. Therefore, they would be banned from their profession. Any teacher or administrator that just all they're doing is you've got a transgender student that says, I prefer he, him. Okay. If they mistakenly call that student him, and I don't mean mistakenly like it's a mistake, I'm saying they run afoul of this law. This is really the kind of things that they're trying to push through, folks. We'll talk about it more in depth in another show. That I didn't want to get off on a tangent, but yeah, absolutely 100% love that Republicans are getting drug on this. And Greg Abbott deserves it. He deserves it 100%. You can't sit there and try to shove people like Ann Coulter down people's throats that don't want to hear her and then turn around and say, okay, now you're saying things I don't want to hear. You've got to go. You've got to go. I just want to wrap this up with saying, I support the Palestinians and everybody in this movement that are trying to stop war. Man, I'm with you. I'm with you. Everybody that's trying to help the Palestinian people, ease their suffering, because they are suffering, man. It is. War zones are horrific. They are horrific. They are getting a huge reminder as to why you don't start wars. It is awful. And anybody that's trying to ease that suffering, I'm with you, man. I am with you 100%. Anybody that says Israel stole their land and doesn't have a right to exist, piss off. And that's the way I feel about it. But you want to say that stupid crap? This is America, man. Somebody tries to shut you up, I'll swing with you. I will. I will fight for your right to say it. I will. I'll tell you you're a dumbass, but I'll fight for your right to say it. All right. Let's talk about Trump's no good, very bad week. Asked for a new trial in the E. Jean Carroll case because he doesn't want to pay that. And the deadline's running out on that. He's going to have to cough up $80 million, $85 million. No. Judge said no. No new case for you. That's it. You're done. And I honestly don't know how much liquid capital he has to keep fighting these, because right now the RNC is just blazing through cash, funneling money to Donald Trump. It's to the point now that their cash on hand advantage has fallen so far behind the DNC that people are starting to ask questions. Sumita Fekete, I really appreciate. Did I pronounce that right, Fekete? Give me a pronunciation on that. I really appreciate your support, and I do not like to mispronounce people's names. But yeah, it's becoming painfully obvious, and you've got longtime donors that are starting to ask questions about how much are they taking out of the RNC. It's insane. It is insane. Spicy Dragon, I tell you, I love you people, man. Always on it. It's more than 83.3 million. It's plus interest at this point, closer to 100 million. Yeah. And I don't think that he has the funds to keep fighting this. I really don't. Everybody I listen to tells me there is an end to this. He does not have unlimited money to keep throwing at these attorneys. Not even with the RNC support, because like I say, he's starting to get pushback there. They're falling so far behind in their fundraising because so much of their funding is being diverted to Donald Trump and Donald Trump only. They don't have the funds to support down ballot races. They don't have funds to open up offices in battleground states. They're really getting their clock cleaned, and it's because of Donald Trump. That's not the only bad news he had on Thursday. And there's so much happening. A lot of this just flew right under the radar. Trump tried to get he's being sued civilly over his role in the January 6th riots. He's being sued by several of the police officers and employees at the Capitol for his role in inciting the January 6th riot. He took to the judge the argument that I was president, you can't sue a president. And judge said, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. You may have been president, but when you were on that stage giving that speech, that was for your campaign, and you were private citizen Donald Trump running for the office of president, which is a damn fine argument, which goes to the crux of the immunity argument, the oral arguments we just heard in the Supreme Court, which were just amazing. Just amazing. I want to try to find you an image of Michael Drayden. You know, folks, I have this thing where I watch exceptional people do exceptional things, and I just get hooked. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's perfect example, Mike Tyson. I'm not a huge fan of Mike Tyson as a person. That's terrible. Let me find you another. As a person, but his dedication to his craft, his skill is astounding. It's just astounding. And when I see somebody, a painter or a musician, or, it's why I used to love listening to George Carlin so much. His command of the English language and understanding human nature was as good as it gets. And I always tell people, just me, just the common guy, me doing my thing. Yeah, that's the foundation of our society. That's everything. You, me, us going out, doing our thing, just our daily thing. People like to crap on fast food workers and stuff like that. Man, those people going to work and doing their job makes our society run. It's important. But those people that are exceptional, and I don't care what it is. I used to go when I was a young man. I lost my hearing to shooting. I really am. I have profound hearing loss because I used to shoot competitively. I used to go to watch shooting exhibitions, and these guys were incredible. I mean, incredible. They would take a dozen targets, chuck them up in the air, fire 8 rounds out of a shotgun, and reload the shotgun, and catch the last 4 targets before they would hit the ground. So when I see something that's just next level, I immediately get enthralled by it. I do. I don't care what it is. And when people tell me, hey man, you need to check this out, this is me, I always run to check it out. I do. On that note, I want to introduce you to Michael Drayden. He's the former Solicitor General. He left the job, Deputy Solicitor General. He left the job in 2019. He is working for Jack Smith. And he just represented Jack Smith in oral arguments, the oral arguments against Trump's immunity claims in the Supreme Court. And folks, I have to tell you, I have never in my life heard someone that just the knowledge in this man's head on his field of in his profession, I was just gobsmacked. You know, normally like a justice will throw gotchas out there and ask you questions, and the attorney will burn time because they'll have to remind themselves. So you'll hear, you know, flipping through paper or once. Every exchange with every justice, he took complex concepts regarding, I mean, it didn't matter what angle they came at him from. And he could take that concept when they quoted case law, when they quoted different, and just immediately had a brilliant and well thought out and proper argument, an argument that fit, an argument that actually fit. Then, I mean, it was effective. I was just gobsmacked at how good this guy was. I really was. I just, when I am grateful for people like that. We have people like him all throughout our government that do amazing things that we don't know. And when we see one like Michael Dreeben that gets, just kudos, man. Kudos. It was incredible. Midas Touch, much to their credit, has the oral arguments available for you if you care to hear them. As Kim P says here, Kim P, HR Guru, says Sauer was awful. He was painful to listen to. Trump's representative, Trump's lawyer, Dijon Sauer, his voice is like nails on a chalkboard. The arguments that he makes are just dumb. Just his entire argument. Deborah Webb says, thank you, Texas Paul, for your on-target message. Hey, my pleasure. It's what I do. Dijon Sauer's entire argument was, you could go back, find the clip of Nixon. He did an interview with a guy by the name of David Frost during the whole Watergate thing, after the Watergate thing had broken. The Nixon Library has a copy. You can Google it online. I can't play it for you because there's copyright issues, but you've probably seen it where Nixon says that he says, you know, when you broke, David Frost asked him, says, when you know, how do you square breaking the law and that situation with your point of view? And Nixon responds, well, when the president does it, it's not illegal. That was his entire argument before the Supreme Court. When the president does it, it's not illegal. And let me tell you how dangerous this got. They were, thank you, Trash Man. I appreciate you. Let me tell you how dangerous this got. Dijon Sauer argued to the point, to literally Nixon's territory of, if the president does it, it's not illegal. That was the framework of his argument. The most conservative justice, I mean, you're talking about John Roberts actually argued him down on the, Neil Gorsuch was actually really good in this exchange. They actually had to force him to admit that there might be somewhere, somehow, some situation in the arbitrary where a president might not have immunity, and he begrudgingly, after just getting the crap beat out of him, finally acknowledged it. Thank you, Barb Campbell. She says, thanks, Texas Paul, for all you do. Love from Kentucky. All right, I got Kentucky people here. There are good people in every state, folks. Kentucky is not a blood red state. It is not. Ask. She'll tell you. She'll tell you. Texas, same way. We are not a blood red state. We just aren't. There are a lot of people in the state that are just like me. And, excellent point, Mary P. Why did Nixon need a pardon from Ford then? Yeah, exactly. If he really believed that argument, and that's the argument D. John Sauer made. And I have to tell you, folks, in listening to this, and I listened to the whole thing, man, beginning to end, I listened to the whole thing. It really broke up into 4 camps. And we'll start worst to best. There were some surprises. There really were some surprises. And then there were some that weren't. Clarence Thomas and John Roberts paired up as one group. There were basically 4 different groups, four different avenues, 4 different arguments. Clarence Thomas and John Roberts paired up. Clarence Thomas didn't think that they should have been arguing this at all. He just wanted this gone. Not the same argument that John Roberts made, but it was the same objective. You shouldn't even be arguing this. This is settled. The president has immunity. That's it. Basically, where all of his questioning went was in support of D. John Sauer and his argument. John Roberts was actually a bit pissy in his questioning. He was really put out that the Supreme Court, all of the justices actually were pretty put out that they were even having to settle this for different reasons. John Roberts was pissed off at the appeals court and their ruling, just trashed their ruling, said, excuse me, you got this wrong, and you got it so wrong that we should have just kicked this back to you and never even heard it. I can't believe you people made me be here. Really, folks, that was his argument. That was his argument. Stephen Rhodes says, love from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I have kin that lived in Chattanooga for a long time. If you ever want to go to an amazing aquarium, Chattanooga, Tennessee actually has one of the best aquariums in the world, folks. Really. If you end up that way, go to the aquarium. It's amazing. He'll tell you. I bet you Stephen will tell you about it. I bet he's been. It's incredible. Trash Man from Ohio. Good to see you. Good to see you. But then you had Alito and Kavanaugh. And their arguments were horrifying. I mean, horrifying. Kavanaugh, he is, he was Ken Starr's knife man. That's who he was. He is a rabidly partisan individual. Benna Loco's in the house. Good to see you. Good to see you. By the way, she's got a show she'll link for you. She has a show that I will tell you, those two blow my mind. They do. They blow my mind. It is fun to watch. It is fun to watch. You should check it out sometime. Oh, but yeah, Kavanaugh and Alito were horrific. I mean, horrific. Kavanaugh was petty. He was completely partisan. Completely, I mean, really, it was painfully obvious. He was not arguing law. He was not arguing constitutionality. He was literally making threats with his arguments. He said, well, if you do this to Trump, we're going to do this to Obama. And what he was talking about, he said, well, he literally went here, folks. Well, what about Obama's drone strikes? If you get rid of presidential immunity, what about Obama's drone strikes? Which has no relevance to what the argument really is. Tracy Averstick says, thank you for standing up for democracy, Texas, Paul. The Heifer 16. I'm glad to have you with me. Glad to have you with me. And thanks for the support. Look, this was President Obama as commander-in-chief authorizing a program in which there were some accidental killings of Americans in strikes in a war zone. You cannot prosecute a president for that. There was one intentional strike that killed an American who had joined Al Qaeda. They made the decision that they would not make a special carve out for people that were, just because they were Americans, they wouldn't say, okay, well, we can't attack them. We've got to take them to court. No, you're in a war zone. You're fighting with Al Qaeda. You are a target. Period. That's the way wars work. And that was Brett Kavanaugh's take on this. If you prosecute Trump, well, we'll go back and get Obama. And Alito was worse. He went next level on this. Every time Michael Dreeben would tell him, hey, this is the situation. This is what we are talking about. Samuel Alito said, no. I don't want to talk about the actual charges. I don't want to talk about the actual case. I don't want to talk about what they're actually charging him with. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this hypothetical made-up situation. And his hypotheticals were horrible. I mean, horrible. One of them was, well, what if a president decides that a protest is valid and he joins the protest? Can he be prosecuted then? No. That's not what we're talking about here. And Michael Dreeben tried to walk him back to it, and he was having none of it. None of it. Samuel Alito is going to decide this case in the fantasy land he has created in his mind with these bizarre what ifs that really have no place in reality. And it was terrifying, folks. It was terrifying. The things that he was saying just made me, literally put knots in my stomach. I mean, it made me ill listening to him because all I could think of was the 2025 project. Brian Peachy, I appreciate you. Good morning, all. I hope you all are having a great morning. President Biden for another 4 years. Democrats get the job done. Amen, brother. I'm glad you are here. Thank you. Thank you. Katie Carroll. Back at it. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Abbott and DeSantis are awful. I always appreciate your patronage, Katie. Any chance they can be voted out? It's going to be a fight, but yeah, there is a chance. It's going to be a fight. It's in 2026. I am starting now. I am attacking him on all of his crap. I am not waiting for the 2026 election cycle to get started. I think that the narratives need to be there now. So yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. But yeah, I can't stress to you enough. I want to, listening to Sam Alito talk, it was just, frustrating is not even the word. It's not it's not the right word. It was actually, and disheartening is not the word. It made me, for the lack of a better way to put it, violent. It was like, I don't know. It's like if you were at war to save your family and you could see in the distance your neighbor loading weapons, that feeling that you would have, that listening to Samuel Alito, that was the feeling I got. That we're at war with these people. And he is insane. That he doesn't live in our reality. Because Sam Alito was 100% on board with the Nixonian argument that if the president does it, it's not a crime. And Kavanaugh and Alito were so smug in their questioning. You could tell they were not concerned about, and I just want to take a little bit of a right turn here. They were not concerned Emergency remedial truth. Thank you very much for the support. A payday today. I can pitch in a little. Thank you. I appreciate you. Every little bit helps, and I'm very grateful. Katie Carroll. Greg, get Abbott, Texas, Paul. You have our support. I am. He's up for re-election in 26, and man, we're going to do it. We are going to do it. But Alito's arguments, every one of these hypotheticals he kept putting up, and Dreeben did an amazing job. He would not let it go. Dreeben, and you have to fear, we're going to have some background information. I got to tell you, side note here. Do y'all have a rule of 3 in your house about disasters? The other night, my grandson, God love my grandson. He really is. He made me so proud. But he was driving down the state highway here, and he hit something. There was something laying on the road. I think it was a piece of metal. Couldn't find it. But he hit something. And he wasn't the first person. There was actually someone else that had hit it before him. It was pulled over on the side of the road. It's midnight. He's coming back from his girlfriend's house that lives in another town. So he hits this thing, and he's destroyed a tire. Fortunately, he didn't do any damage to his car, but he destroyed his tire. So he calls Papa, and I come running. I get out there. He's jacking the other woman's car up to change her tire. That's my boy. That's my boy. He's gone out into the freeway. Yeah, he went out into a freeway to find the thing that they hit to get it out of the freeway. And then he's jacking up the other woman's tire. She couldn't get her hubcap off because it took a special tool that she didn't have. So it'll be okay. My grandparents are coming. We'll give you a ride to where you need. I got there. I'm giving this woman a ride. I was so proud of him. I really was. I was very proud of him. But that happened. Okay. Rule of 3. That happened. Then 3 days ago, I haven't had sleep for 3 days, folks. My AC went out. Took a day to get somebody out for 4 days. Took a day to get somebody out here to look at it. We built this house about 13, 14 years ago. The AC unit has given us nothing but problems. We ended up buying a York system because it was recommended to us. Turns out about 14 years ago, York went to hell in a handbasket. We've had nothing but problems with this. Trina Longa says, you need to get a majority of Democrats in the House and Senate so you could expand the Supreme Court. Amen. Amen. I'll wrap this up. I just want to know, do y'all have the rule of 3 in your house? So yeah, the AC goes out. We've been sleeping here with no climate control. The humidity is horrific. Thank God it hasn't been that hot. Sleeping with the windows open with all the humidity, just I can't sleep that way. I don't know about you. But the noise you're hearing in the background is we're getting a new AC put in. Then this morning, as I'm setting up the show, I hear Mrs. Texas Paul scream from the kitchen. I get in there. The cooktop gas alarm is screaming. Man. Turns out one of the knobs went bad on the cooktop, so we're going to have to go deal with that. So, do y'all have the rule of 3? It's never just one thing that happens. It's always like boom, boom, boom. And I look at it this way. We're safe. We've had our 3. We're safe. We're safe. I mean, and thank God we've always been frugal. We've always lived beneath our means. We've always been tight with our money. So this new AC is not going to destroy us. And, we don't have to lose sleep for months trying to figure out how we're going to pay for this. It's just made decisions to live tight. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me, folks. So I just want to explain the background noise. You're going to hear some drilling and maybe a little hammering, a little something. They're putting me a new AC in. See, I knew I wasn't the only one. I knew I was. A lot of people are saying, yeah, it's really, somebody's saying I'm waiting for my number 3 to drop. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It always happens that way. It always happens that way. Unexpected pregnancies in the family, 3. There will always be 3. Somebody passes away. two more people going to go. Who's it going to be? I mean, it's just, I don't know what it is with the rules of three, but it just is. So yeah, back to the Supreme Court arguments. There were actually some surprises. You had Neil Gorsuch and Sonia Sotomayor joining up into another faction. And they were making the argument that, of course, the president doesn't have immunity from everything in every situation. But their argument tended to fall on the let's err on the side of the president. Their questioning and their rebuttals all seem to fall on the argument of, well, the president's got to be able to do crap. And if he can be sued, if he can be criminally prosecuted, he can be, it will become a political tactic. And that's all we will see. Thanks, Katie Carroll. I appreciate you again. And actually, I was pleasantly surprised. I really was, because Neil Gorsuch is, look, David Souter. Anybody remember David Souter? When he joined the Supreme Court, when he was put on, it was Poppy Bush that put David Souter on. He was a conservative Republican. Poppy Bush didn't go pick a liberal to put on the Supreme Court. When he got that lifetime appointment and he started hearing cases and started hearing arguments, his views of the world went from being a political politician to just calling it based on reality. And David Souter became a liberal because reality has a liberal bias. He was one of you could count on David Souter as being a liberal voice on the court. Neil Gorsuch, surprisingly, seems to be going through that same transition. Bob Shade says, thank you, Texas Paul, for speaking out every day. Hey, that's what I'm here for. Alabama in the house. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Me and Neil Gorsuch aren't breaking bread anytime soon. I am way more liberal than he is, but he really is not a Brett Kavanaugh. When they appointed him, he was in Brett Kavanaugh territory. He was a Republican ideologue, political fighter. He has not been that way since he's been on the court. He has made he started that way. But in this case, you could hear the arguments. He was living in reality. Of course, a president can't have complete immunity. And he really went after D. John Sauer. And he was the one that actually broke D. John Sauer from the president has immunity in all cases arguments. But he and Justice Sonia Sotomayor, took the more conservative view that, and you could tell in their arguments, he took the more conservative view that, hey, if we're going to make a decision on this, and we're pissed that we have to make a decision on this, you could tell they were all pissed at Donald Trump. It was said multiple times, we've had, how many hundreds of years and never had to deal with the situation. And we're having to deal with it because of even the hypotheticals that Alito gave were kind of, you could tell the argument was this bastard Trump did this to us. Because Alito didn't even want to talk about Donald Trump at all. But yeah, Gorsuch and Sonia, that was one camp. Let's err on the side of the president because the president has to be functional and we can't have this as a political attack. That was basically where their questions seemed to be going. Then you had the most lucid, best arguments, the most brilliant arguments made in the entire exchange from Ketanji Brown Jackson. Again, listening to her and Michael Dreeben go back and forth, or her and D. John Sauer go back and forth, Ketanji Brown Jackson took a very different path to the Supreme Court than the other justices did. She has been a working judge, and it shows. Oh my God, it shows in her arguments, her command, her understanding of the legal concepts are so far beyond. You would listen to Alito's nonsensical, well, let's imagine, and then you would hear Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was the last justice making the last arguments. It was incredible. It was incredible. Heidi Acevedo, glad you're here, Heidi. She is intellectually fierce and by far the most experienced and most brilliant justice we have on the court. Her, Elena Kagan, and surprisingly, Amy Coney Barrett were the fourth faction. Jeanette Dahl says, it sounds to me like the USA needs a major cleanup when it comes to corruption. We do. We badly do. Gavin Middleton, thank you, sir. Appreciate the support. Newest Bill, keep on keeping on. Sometimes the wind blows my ponytail over the top of my bald head. Wind blown comb over. Man, Bill, man, hair loss is a normal thing, right? I mean, it's who you are. It doesn't affect your manhood, right? What the hell is wrong with this guy? I mean, that whole it's perverted what he tries to do. It's gross. Just embrace it, man. Trim your hair up, have nice looking hair, do it. Ketanji Brown Jackson is brilliant. Take a seat, Alito. Yeah, Susan Thompson, you're dead on there. But let me tell you, the shock for me was Amy Coney Barrett. She was absolutely in this camp, and they were arguing. Their arguments could be classified as they also believe there's no such thing as absolute immunity. So if you're taking count, this is breaking down to 5-4 in this decision in the favor of Trump does not have immunity. There are three justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Elena Kagan, and Amy Coney Barrett, that were making brilliant, lucid, intelligent, easy to understand, common sense arguments that no, the president doesn't have immunity. And our decision, if we're to make an error, and they all acknowledge that there's going to be some error in this decision because the presidency is such a complex thing, and the gambit of things a president has to deal with, from life and death commander in chief stuff to I'm running for office again, is a massively wide spectrum. And the understanding that what happens next, this was the break between the five that are not going to give him immunity. The three, Amy Coney Barrett, Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, all made the argument that, look, when we write this decision, we need to err on the side of caution. We can always roll back constraints on the presidency. If there's a situation where a president is held to account where he doesn't need to be held to account, there are safeguards. Our system, our criminal system, our civil system has safeguards in place to deal with that. Better to have a check on that presidential power than to have a monarchy. And the arguments, I mean, I highly recommend, thank you, Midas Touch. They have the oral arguments there. If you care to hear them, it was long, extraordinarily long. D. John Sauer, I will warn you ahead of time, is very difficult to listen to, but he was eye-opening and very much let me know that I have to fight. I have to fight. This 2025 project and guys like D. John Sauer and Samuel Alito, and if the conservatives get their way, there just will be no checks. There just will be no checks. We have to keep fighting. And I just wanted to leave you with this one point. You know, I've always said this. I love Michelle Obama, and I've always disagreed with her on the when they go low, we go high thing. This is one of the cases, and this is one of the things that I'm going to make my argument to you, and I hope you're with me on this. If the conservatives prevail, and this is like a 5-4 or 6-3 decision on giving Trump immunity, and they create fascism for a presidency, it was clear in Alito and Kavanaugh's and Thomas's arguments that they're on board with it. They're good with it. They're good with fascism. It's okay as long as it's a Republican. But you could tell from their arguments that they didn't have fear that a Democrat was going to do this. They're counting on the fact that if the Supreme Court puts fascism on the table, that this president will not pick it up. Linda Blanton says, in my opinion, Trump is coming off dope because he isn't sniffing, falling asleep, low energy, no accordion hands, may have fear of a UA possibility. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. He is having a hard time getting through the day because it's really rough to pack Bolivian marching powder into a courtroom. Yeah, I think you're right there in making that argument that could be a very, very true thing. ET says, get out that vote, people. Help others check that their registration is good. Know your registration deadlines and help others get registered. Then do what you can to help them get to the polls. Vote. Amen, ET. Amen. James Jeremiah says, they go low, we get down and dirty with them. Amen. And this is the argument that I want to make to you and what I want to lead to our roundtable with. If they put that on the table, if we do what is in our nature and say, we don't support fascism, we're not going to act like fascists, and leave that out on the table, the next Republican president will pick it up. Katie Carroll says, my dad, hubby, and son are all lost there. Love them anyway. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. It's normal. It's normal. I don't get this. I don't understand that. It looks so weird and grotesque. I have a freeze frame of it that's just, ugh. I don't get that whole thing is weird to me, but I don't want to go off on tangent on that right now because this is important. If they put fascism on the table, what is going to be our nature is to say, we don't do that. Our principles don't allow us to be fascists. We're not going to do that. And it will sit out there on the table. And then when the Republicans get power, they will pick it up and say, thank you. And that is the end of our country. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. If the Republicans in the Supreme Court put fascism on the table, we have to pick it up and wield it brutally. We have to destroy the Republican Party and what is modern conservatism. Not conservatism. There are arguments to be made, opposition views, but modern Republican MAGA conservatism has to be destroyed. Then we can restore our republic. And our grandchildren and our children and their great-grandchildren will have a republic. But if we polish our principles, if they say fascism is the rule of the day, we have king presidents, and we do not embrace that, we will leave it on the table for Republicans to pick up, and they will wield it against us with no mercy, and we will lose our country forever. Because the first thing Republicans will do is the exact same thing that Putin has done in Russia and every other strongman has done. They will turn elections into a fiction, They will hold fake elections every so many years and say, look, everybody loves me. I'm still the dictator. See? So yeah, let's watch what the Supreme Court does here. But I'm making the argument, if they err towards fascism, and Spicy Dragon's right here, once it's gone for good. We are the only people that will sit there and say, okay, you want a taste of fascism, we'll give it to you, and give the republic back. It's who we are by nature. Think on that when we get to the roundtable, because I want to hear what you have to say. There's a couple things that have gone on here. Good news, but not the type of good news that it's being portrayed at. In Arizona, the Arizona House, the Democrats did not give up the fight. They kept fighting. It took 3 tries. This, my friends, is Ben Toma. He's the Republican Speaker of the House. Democrats convinced 3 Republicans in the Arizona House to cross the aisle and join with them. I love you, folks. I love you. Wild Heart's already there. 1864 is gone. They were able to overturn that draconian 1864 territorial law that the Republicans had triggered with their trigger law, and have had it repealed. Or pardon me, it will be repealed because it's going to pass through the Senate, and Katie Hobbs is definitely going to sign that one. The problem is, and the reason I say this is great. This shows you what we can get done when we keep fighting. This is great. It is not the victory that folks think it is, because all it does is it repeals that law, which puts back in place the 15-week ban that they had passed under Ducey, Doug Ducey, the former governor of Arizona when the Republicans ran Arizona. And we have to deal with that. We're not done, is what I'm saying in Arizona. We're not done. Enjoy the victory. Now, the Republicans here, the reason I have a picture of Ben Toma here is this jackass, jerk, SOB, sorry, worthless piece of trash responded. The 3 Republicans that crossed the aisle to vote with Democrats to get this done, he has stripped them of their committee assignments. And the leading Democrats that were responsible for getting it repealed, he has stripped them of their committee assignments as retribution. And folks, committee assignments are a big deal for a politician. They really are. It's one of the best perks of the job, because, I always tell people this, politicians can hear you, but they hear you so much better in Hawaii. They hear you so much better in Jerusalem. It's amazing what a change in air from DC to some remarkable place in the world will do for a politician's hearing. And if you're on the right committee, people will invite you to come see them. And weirdly, those think tanks that have objectives, that have, offices in DC, never really want to talk to you in DC. They want to talk to those politicians in, again, London or Paris, or that is a perk of the job, folks. When I say these people are sitting on their butts, not doing their job for the American people, and they're getting paid, like a U.S. rep gets paid $174,000 a year, plus staff, plus travel, plus all of that. They also get lobbied. They get fine meals. They get travel. They get all these really great freaking things. And for Toma to strip these people off their committees is real retribution. I mean, it's real retribution. And I know as a layperson, it's like good, but it's a jerk move. It really is. Las Mucharinas says, FYI, it's called Project 2025. The counter to it is to stop the coup 2025.org. It's super helpful, breakdown and charts. Hey, thanks for the information. I was unaware of that website. We're going to stop the coup 2025. We'll have to check that out. Thank you very much. Can you link it in the chat for us also? Katie Carroll, will Biden fight back? Yes. Biden, not only will he fight back, he'll utilize his decades of experience to fight back effectively. Radio Chaos says Mitch McConnell, along with the Federalist Society, has turned the Supreme Court into a complete joke. Absolutely. Absolutely. Colleen Sarah says, grateful Roe was still in place when I had to make a difficult decision back in the 90s. We are going to have Elizabeth Weller on the show, I believe, this Sunday. She is one of the women here in Texas that has filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas. We've got these brave women that are suing Greg Abbott in the state of Texas to get these draconian laws overturned. She should be with us this Sunday to talk about it. I hope you're here. It should be really, really amazing. That is not the last of it. We've had a continuation on our TikTok story. I told you, there's a lot of Democrats that are like, oh, good, get rid of it. And I've told you, there's a lot of people, folks. There's a lot of people that use TikTok. There's a lot of people that run small businesses off of TikTok. It's not as cut and dried as these people are trying to make it. And Senator Ed Markey really gave, I won't play the whole speech, I'll just play just a clip of it, gave a great speech talking about the whole TikTok situation. And here, we'll let him put it in his own words.
And once we properly acknowledge that this bill is a TikTok ban, we can better see its impact on free expression. 170 million users, 170 million Americans use TikTok to watch videos, learn about the news, run a business, and keep up with the latest pop culture trends. They connect with friends and family, sell new products, and build community. The culture and expression on TikTok are unique and unavailable anywhere else on the internet. In fact, TikTok is a threat, a business threat to Facebook and Instagram and other American companies precisely because of its unique style and community, which cannot be replicated anywhere else.
So Ed Markey is always eloquent, and he brings up a great point. This is not cut and dried like people make it out to be. It's not. I have told people what's going to happen. I've told you before when I say, look, this is what's going to happen. I said it in Israel. I said it in Gaza. Okay, everybody's saying that, Israel's going to be attacked from all its neighbors. They're saying that again today. Oh, World War III is going to start over Ukraine. No, it's not. I tell you, some things I will tell you. I'll address that in a minute. I will tell you it's just not what it's portrayed. And I'll tell you, look, this is what's going to happen. And when I say that, you can take it to the bank. It's what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen with TikTok. ByteDance has already come out and said, we'll shut it down. We're not selling it. So the conservatives buying it to turn it into another X-Chan, that's off the table. ByteDance has billions of users worldwide. They literally don't need us. They don't. And they have said, before we give conservatives in your country who we cannot trust our algorithm, we will shut it down. So that's where we're at. So what is going to happen? What's going to happen is Democrats are going to take this ban up, but it's not going to just be TikTok. They're going to address the privacy issues with legislation. If you get your ass out and vote Democrats, and you give us the House and you give us the Senate, what is going to happen is, no, they're not going to ban TikTok. They're not going to kill TikTok. What they are going to do is they're going to overturn this law that will kill TikTok, and they will put in place reform legislation that affects Meta, Google, and every other platform. They will reform the amount of data that all of those, they've already restored net neutrality. By the way, that one slipped under the radar. That's going to be another, we have to explain what net neutrality is and all the other stuff and how it went away with Kash Patel and all the other stuff. That's a whole nother segment. But yeah, they're already doing things to move in the right direction. The FCC already voted to restore net neutrality. That didn't make the news at all. That just happened. You watch next week. I'm always a week ahead of them. You watch next week. The corporate media will be talking about net neutrality. But yeah, what is going to happen is Democrats are going to take up this legislation and they're going to kill it. They are. But in its place, they're going to put in reforms to protect your privacy. And it's going to affect not just TikTok, it's going to affect all platforms, and it's going to be a good thing. That's what's going to happen with the TikTok ban. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. The last story I've got for you is just schadenfreude. I mean, just enjoy this. This is like the Trump hair thing. I make fun of homosexuals all the time. I really do. And if you have 4 pounds of ammunition in your suitcase, you meant it to be there. You really did. You really did. Most people's suitcases weigh about 40 to 50 pounds for the big suitcases. That's 10% of the weight. That's a bag about yay big. You knew that ammunition is in your bag. If you get caught with 40 pounds of ammunition in your bag, why he had it, we don't know. But here's the story. Linda B, here you go. Have another few cups of Cafe Bustelo. Yeah, that's good coffee, by the way, folks. The Cafe Bustelo, it's a Mexican brand. It is actually really good coffee. If you like a stronger coffee, if you like a coffee that's, and it's not just when I say stronger, to me, Starbucks is bitter. It's bitter. They like, I don't know. I think they use like a Haitian blend. It's very bitter beans. Bustelo is not that way. You get a little more bitter with it, but you also get a lot stronger coffee. It's good stuff, man. Is it Puerto Rican? I thought it was Mexican. I thought Bustelo was Mexican. I had to find out something new. Thank you, guys. It's Brazilian. Nah, I really got to find out. Somebody's got to Google this for us before the show's over. Y'all are going to drive me freaking nuts. But Bustelo's good. I've had it before. It's really good. But there's this couple. They went to Turks and Caicos, and this guy had 4 pounds of ammunition in his suitcase. When he got through our security, no problem. When he got to Turks and Caicos, they found it. And importing ammunition is a serious, serious crime in Turks and Caicos. They are not going to do gun violence in their country. They are not. And we are, to folks on the right, I'm a gun guy. I am. Michael Andrews says, thanks, Paul. I hope you sleep well tonight. Going over to Hal's house. Good, man. Glad you're here. Katie Carroll, thank you again. I really appreciate your patronage. I really do. Let me wrap this up. We're not normal about guns. We aren't. We have the most out there gun situation in the world. Nobody else is like us. Nobody. So people hear about a case like this and they're like, what? They're going to put him in jail for 12 years and his wife? Are you kidding me? That's crazy. For 4 pounds of ammunition? Shoot, I got 500 pounds of ammunition in the closet. Folks, that's not normal. That's not normal. And yeah, Turks and Caicos is throwing the book at this guy. And here, let me let the guy put it in his own words here. Hold on. Let me let him make his argument. This is from NBC 10 in Boston on their TikTok page. So yeah, kudos to them.
This is something that we may never recover from.
The story of American tourists stranded in Turks and Caicos Islands.
I was like, guys, I'm so
You know what? I've got it without. I've actually downloaded. Let me play it. Let me just play it full screen for you. I've actually downloaded this one to use later. This is from NBC again, NBC 10 in Boston.
This is something that we may never recover from.
The story of American tourists stranded in Turks and Caicos Islands.
I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. This is, this was a complete innocent mistake.
Facing a 12-year prison sentence.
When I heard that, I immediately was terrified because I was like, we can't both be in prison for 12 years. We have kids at home. And this is such an innocent mistake.
Like, I had no idea that they were in there. I would have never, ever intentionally I had no reason to. We came here to vacation.
And to think that this is going to ruin us. Yeah.
It's a heartbreaking story, and they share their warning for other tourists who may be considering a tropical vacation there.
So, yeah. What do you think, folks? Do you think he didn't know he had 4 pounds of ammunition in his bag? You think he's just like that much of an ammo-sexual that he might accidentally have 4 pounds of ammo in his suitcase when he travels to Turks and Caicos? It was just an innocent mistake. Not in other parts of the world, it's not. We may have freaking ammo at every feed store and every, I am sure here in Texas, there are convenience stores somewhere you can buy ammo at. I am certain of it. I am certain that somewhere here in the state of Texas, there are convenience stores you can buy ammo. That's not normal. That's not normal. That's not the way the world views guns and what they're for. And their laws are there for a reason. There's a reason no one else in the world has gun violence like we do. It's everything, the culture around guns, the availability, the everything, all of that is not normal. And they are getting a wake-up call. They are getting a wake-up call that, that whole, well, I'm American and my views on guns are what they ought to be in the whole world. No, this is going to cost them a fortune. I believe the American embassy is going to step in on their behalf. I don't think they're going to go to prison for 12 years. That's what our embassies do when our people get in trouble overseas, as long as it's not something that's, you're just an idiot. Famously, we had an American take a caning overseas for vandalism. Things like that, happen, and they will allow the prosecutions, allow is the wrong word. The prosecutions will go forward. But when it's something that's just accidental, somebody was, I'll give you an example. Ask our Finnish friends, ask our Norwegian, ask our Swedish friends, the whole Northern European region. Here in the United States, okay, but what are we going to do about the hole in the wall where it's at now? If you want to do that, that's fine. But yeah, there's a wire in the wall, honey. I don't know. I'll be with that in a minute. But yeah, what we do is not normal. Ask them about their speed limits. Here in the United States, a speed limit is a suggestion. You do it. I do it. We all know the points don't kick in on your license till 10% over. So most cops won't pull you over unless it's like a speed trap type situation, unless you're running 10% over the speed limit. But other countries take it quite seriously. There was a famous case in Finland where they will actually charge you and fine you based on your ability to pay. Not just, our point system here where it's like X number of dollars per mile per hour over. No, they find a really, really wealthy dude who's out driving his supercar in Finland, $380,000, the equivalent of $380,000 for speeding. Yeah, different countries look at the law differently than we do. And guns is one of those major issues. So this to me, I don't know how you feel about it, but these people are finding out America is not the world. And while we have ideas and we can argue those ideas, okay, what about, the fact that we are not the world? We don't run the globe. Other countries can do things differently than us, and you have to respect it. These people, to me, appear to have no respect for Turks and Caicos' view on guns and ammunition. That's the feeling I got. Oh, just an innocent mistake. Just an innocent mistake. Acknowledge that it's serious. Acknowledge that not every place on earth has to be as gun crazy as we are. Quit being the ugly American that says, well, in America, we do it this way. No, look to other places. Sometimes we're better at things. We have better ideas. Sometimes we do. Sometimes they do. And the way they do things is better. Katie Carroll says, Bustelo founder, born in Spain, made in U.S., beans from Brazil, Colombia, and Cuba, calling it Hispanic coffee. We were all right, except for me, because I said it was Mexican. Thank you, Katie Carroll. I love you folks, man. I'm telling you, and Bustelo is good, man. And I have to tell you, Brazilian beans I'm a coffee nut. I am. Jamaican beans are freaking exceptional. I'm telling you, Blue Mountain Coffee, you got to try it. You can order it online. Make sure you get there is an actual certified organization that verifies it's Blue Mountain Coffee. Don't order Chinese freaking beans that they put Blue Mountain Coffee on the side of it. Make sure it's from you can actually go to the organization that regulates it and order coffee from them to make sure you're getting it. But the Jamaican coffee is amazing. But Brazilian, of course, Colombian coffee, it's actually, depending on where they grow it in Colombia, whether it's like really good or just really bad. But, so you can't just say Colombian and it's all good. But a lot of the Colombian coffee is really fantastic. It has to do with they grow it up on the sides of the mountain, the temperature, the humidity, it's just perfect. Cuba, that's one I'm going to have to figure out. Jeanette Dahl says, I don't know where to buy guns and stuff like that here in Denmark. You can't. And you're better off for it. You really are. And I'm a guns guy. I love to shoot. I've lost my hearing to competitive shooting. And I will tell you, you are better off for not having the gun culture that we have. Keith Beal, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Well, look, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I would like to back up to that question that we had earlier and get your feelings on it, if you don't mind. I know Hal's running. Let's take it a couple of minutes longer. How do you feel about it? Forgive me. That went down the wrong pipe. No, not guns. You know, we've talked about several issues today, from the Supreme Court all the way up to, forgive me, several subjects today. Guns is a show in and of up to itself. Folks, I have just been told that the construction crew is needing my decision, and I have to go deal with this. And I really want an air conditioner tonight, folks. It's been 4 days, man. So I am going to have to cut this off. I am sorry. I apologize. We will do a long roundtable discussion on Sunday. I love you folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are. I'm going to go get me some AC. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.